These directions will go over the simulation directions for the 20s. So if you go to the website, you can find access to the files. This is the sheet, the blank sheet that you're going to have to fill out. Notice how it's telling you here kind of a summary of what's going to happen. You're going to work for a minute to earn a salary. You're going to complete an expense sheet, and then you're going to try to obtain specialty cards. This file gives you some directions, about how to fill this particular sheet out and how the simulation works. So I've combined this file here with another one that I have in this screencast here. You do not have access to what I am showing you here because it's a combination of a couple of different slideshows. So we're trying to simulate what it was like for during the Roaring Twenties from so many different perspectives here. We're going to do this monthly, and the summary here is simply this. We're going to try to achieve cards. Cards will be a way to determine your financial status during the 20s, and you are going to work, earn a salary to pay bills. Notice that you have to obtain the cards in order to show your wealth. One of the things in the 1920s, you show wealth by the amount of things that you have. This is the start of consumerism. The class will be broken up into various roles. The roles sometimes conflict with other roles, and your tasks need to be accomplished because you are being compared to other U.S. history classes. Keep in mind, let's say for example, the socialist job is to rally the workers, and they are the ones that have to critique the system of capitalism. So their ideas, if they are successful at overthrowing the government, that will come at the expense of item 7, the president. However, the president does have the ability to exercise the Sedition Act if the president feels that the socialists are trying to advocate a threat to the government. Workers, they are in conflict with business. They may also be in conflict with the creditor, who is down here, keeping track of how much people are paying with credit. So the way this works is you're going to be trying to obtain a series of these cards. If we were in class, these things would be in some cases distributed at random, and in some cases you would have to earn them. This is what the sheet needs to look like by the time you're done filling this out. So a blank sheet looks like this, and one that's completed looks like this. So you'll get one sheet that is back-to-back, double-sided, and on one side you are keeping track of your expenses like a checkbook. The backside will explain, pretty much who you are. So looking at this sheet here, we're looking at one's race, ethnicity, sex, where they live, and whether or not they have a family. This column right here is looking at the amount of stocks that the person has. And here you see their specialty items that they've earned through purchases. Looking here, again, this would be handed out at random. The race that you have, you would have to staple, tape, or glue this to this particular sheet. Your ethnicity, I would ask, maybe somebody on the left side of the room, this row to kind of circle. You could be a European immigrant, you could be an immigrant from Asia. It doesn't matter as long as it's looking at groups of people that existed during the 20s. Your sex, male, female, flapper, invert, where you live, urban America, rural America, and in some cases, suburban America. Whether or not you have a child would go here. So you would be working to obtain these cards, and in some cases, getting these cards just at random, and then attaching them to your sheet. These cards are earned, throughout the day. Only one is available per day, and that's where the store keeps track of these particular items here. Now, looking at the sheet here, you have to kind of figure out, well, how do you get paid? Notice that there are days. This sheet here has 8 days. This is the method that you have to do in order to get paid. This is the work. During the 20s, we looked at Ford and Taylor, as well as during World War I, and how they were trying to figure out a way to get workers to produce. So for 1 minute, students are going to have to do this particular motion. That is a motion that is designed to simulate hitting a nail with a hammer. Maybe you're welding something, maybe you're riveting something. So for 1 minute, everybody is going to do this particular motion. That motion will then allow that individual to get paid. So for day one, if I set your salary at $5, you would put 5 here, but then you have to deduct for your expenses, food, mortgage, taxes. Each one is $1. So if I made 5 and I subtracted 1, 2, 3, I have $2 left over. If I decide to put them in the bank, I would just put a 2 here. If I decide I'm not going to put it in the bank, then I just say, hey, my money left over here is 2, which means 0 is in the bank. And if I decide to purchase any of the specialty items, notice you need a minimum of 6. A specialty item would be purchased through the store. So I would go to the person playing the role of store, give them the money that I have, verify that I have the amount, and then they would give me the card that I could then attach here, because you do need a minimum of 6. Looking at this sheet here, you could see the salary that this individual earned. So for day 1, it was 6. Day 2, it was 3. And day 3. So you also have to keep track, over the days, how much you have left over. So in this scenario, they have $6 coming in. They subtracted 3, and they chose to put $3 in the bank. Here they made 3. So they paid off what they have, but they still have $3 in the bank. Same goes on here. Now here they only made $2. So they paid 1, 2. They should have deducted, because they wouldn't have $3 in the bank, because they only made $2 coming in, and they would have had to have paid $1, $2. But remember, they do have $3 in the bank here. So my point is that you have to keep track, throughout the days, if you're putting money in the bank. And this game is played in a series of rounds. Again, this is a sheet that's giving you an idea of what your sheet should look like. I have used these on assessments. I might ask a particular question like, did the person purchase stock? And you would say no, because here they don't have any stocks purchased. I'm probably not going to ask that question. And if you do purchase stock every day, they're worth the cost is $1. So you'll come in on day 1. Let's just use this sheet here. You would put, day 1, you would $1 for stock, and you would deduct. And then on day 2, I would say, well, that stock is now worth $8. If it's worth $8, you just made 7. You could just make that decision on your own. Say, I'm going to sell this, or you could hold on to the stock. If you feel stocks are too complicated and you don't want to get involved, by all means, don't get involved. You do not have to get taxes. So that's kind of what I'm showing you here. So questions that I could possibly ask would be, which days show the Depression, which days show the New Deal, which days show the 20s? You're probably thinking, what do those phrases mean? We have not got to the point where we have, understood those terms. We're not even at the Depression or the New Deal. We didn't even get into the 20s yet. But just give you an idea that I will use these sheets. So it's crucial that you have an understanding of how they work. So every day we will play a 1 round. And I might change that around where I say one whole class, we're just going to do a series of rounds, and we're not going to do it on a day-to-day basis. I don't know. We will see. What we know here is that this student has put $1 in the bank. And they've made $3, $3, $3, again, $2. So it's very similar to the other sheet that we have. They only have 2 specialty cards. So a question I could ask would be something like, did the student achieve wealth according to the 1920s method of gauging one's wealth? And you would say, well, no, because they only have 2 of the items. They were only able to get the icebox and the stove. So these things would be obtained by the store. So somebody's playing the role of store and somebody is playing the role of creditor. Now notice these are credit purchases. So this individual does not have the amount of money to purchase the items. They're making 3, they're spending 3. They're making 3, they're spending 3. They're making 2, they're spending 3. These things are all needs. You need them. So they really have no money left over. So the question here is, well, how are they able to obtain these items? It's through credit. Somebody's going to play the role of creditor, where they will have a list of everybody's name. If you want to purchase anything through credit, whether it's your food, your mortgage, or pay your taxes, you just simply need to go to that student who has the list of everybody's names and say, hey, Bill, I would like to purchase the stove on credit. And that person will then put your name down on the list so we can keep track per class of how many students and which students are paying with credit. So keep that in mind as we proceed here. Now, as far as the roles are concerned, 1 sheet of these grading sheets are for me per class. So each class will have a sheet that looks similar to this, and all I do is put a plus or minus or a 1/2. And that's where I am grading, comparing the 3 classes of history that I have for this particular year. So I have designated 3 socialists, and maybe one socialist really is satisfying the role requirement. They understand socialists of the 1920s and they're critiquing. That person will get a plus. If they have no idea, they're not really living up to their role. And where do they get their role from? Tells you right here. So if that person is not living up to their role, they're going to earn a negative. So if, government, the president fails, business fails, if we get all negatives for, let's say, 1A, and then 1B has, all but one, their socialist is a positive, then that would mean that the second block class is doing a better job than the first class. Then let's say the third block class, half positive, the other half negative, then they would be the ones that would win for that particular day. So the third class would come in first, this would be second place, and they would be in last place there. So I am looking to see how the classes kind of play and, complete the role requirements. So that's how you complete the sheets. I'm looking to see your expenses here, your specialty items here. If you choose stocks, they go here. These cards will be handed out at random, and then your daily wages go here. So, during class, I will say, all right, get up. We're going to have one round. We're going to work for a minute. You do the motion. And keep in mind, as you're doing the motion, somebody is playing the role of the business owner. So the business owner is going to be given the job of watching you and monitoring you. And their job is going to simply be, you need to watch the students and make sure that they're doing the moves correctly. And if they're not, you simply fire them, which means they would not get a wage for that particular day. And then they would have to kind of appeal to the government. Like when I do simulations, everything and anything is fair game. I just will come up with some sort of condition that you have to meet in order to achieve the goal. So it involves a lot of problem solving in the class here. So again, these are going to be handed out at random, but the wages will be earned through your day of work. And then you need to complete the sheet and just figure out your expenses, how much you have, and try to obtain those specialty cards. Notice bank money was used to pay for food day 8. So in day 8 right here, this student has no money coming in. I would assume that they've been fired of day 5 and 6. So they have no money coming in. They have no money in the bank. And you would ask, well, how would they be able to pay their requirement for, I guess, mortgage and taxes? At that point, if you're, borrowing, which you can do, like you can go in the negatives. If you have no money for food, mortgage, and taxes, just go in the negative. The only difference is, somebody else might have a +5 by the end and you have like a -10. Well, that really just shows, how severe the economy was. And these are things that we will talk about when we get to the debriefing. Looking at this particular sheet here, we could see what this individual has earned throughout the span of the days, what they've paid. It seems that they've had money in the bank and they really didn't take money out of the bank, with the exception of here, when I guess they've taken the $3 out, which left them with 2 in the bank because they used that dollar to pay for food. So that person possibly could have paid for everything else on credit. I don't know. Keep in mind that they have one credit, one stock, and who knows if that went up. Maybe that's something that they did. So in that scenario, we could tell that the woman was pregnant, that the woman has 3 specialty cards, and the woman did buy stock. Those are things that we know. How do we know? Because the student has the quickening card. Anybody trying to get the quickening card needs to come talk to me, and I will figure out what the parameters are for addressing that particular issue. Let's take a sample day. So here's kind of the way this is going to work. You're going to actually do work, pay your bills, and determine if you will deposit money into the bank or purchase any of the items. So in class, what's going to happen is I'm going to say, okay, for 1 minute, everybody up, we do this motion. Business owners walk around the class as managers, as overseers, whatever you want to call them, and just make sure that you're doing the movement correctly. If you're not doing the movement correctly, they can fire you. If, for example, let's just say 5 students that I notice aren't doing the movement, I will tell business that you are not getting paid your salary for that round. Why? Because 5 people in your group did not do what they were asked to do. So that's something that you want to make sure that you are, focused on. Because I'm going to be watching everybody here. And let's just say somebody wants to take their complaints to government. They can do that on any issue. You can go to the government and complain and ask government to draft legislation and changes. It all depends on kind of what's happening, and I really don't want to get into specifics because I want classes to kind of figure out solutions on their own. So, on day 1, I'll say, okay, everybody up. You're going to do this motion for 1 minute. At the end of 1 minute, I'm going to present the item up for sale. This is the time for the advertiser to come up. The cost for this item is $4. It is, I guess, some sort of icebox refrigerator. the person who is playing the role of advertiser will come up and try to sell you this item because the 20s is the time period of advertising and consumerism. Keep in mind, if the advertiser, I'll be ranking them as well. Here they have a plus, which means the other two classes have a negative for their advertiser. Why? Because the person doing the advertising pitch did not do a good job in comparison to the other classes, at the advertisers for the other classes. So that's kind of what I want you to think about. You should be trying to outperform the other classes, and trying to, achieve your goal objective as best as you possibly can. So that's kind of what's going to happen. At the end of the round, we will have 1 minute of this. We will listen to the advertisers, and then I will give you 5 or so minutes to go to the store or go to the creditor and purchase items. It's as simple as going up to the store and just saying, yeah, I have $3 left over. I would like to buy that item. Or going to the creditor and saying, listen, I have $3 left over. I want to purchase the stove or the item for $4. So I'm going to borrow $1 in credit, at which point the person who's playing the role of creditor would keep track. So all of these cards should be obtained through the store. The store owner is given all of the items, the cards in class that I distribute to them. So I distribute to the store owner, whoever's playing that role, the cards, which means he or she is the person that is giving those cards to the students so they could attach them to their sheets. The creditor should probably work together, because at some point people are going to want to pay with credit. So the store owner would have to verify with the creditor that, yeah, I put Tyrone's items that he purchased on credit, and under Tyrone's name, I see, that he purchased $4 worth of credit. So that's kind of the way that this game works there. Um, we'll play this over a span of a couple of days. And when we're looking at the roles, where are they? Right here. Keep in mind, everybody is going to have something different to do. Like farmers, there's certain requirements and they have a different motion. The socialists have to achieve this goal here. Businesses work watching the workers. Anybody can go to the government and ask for changes or legislation to be passed. The advertiser is trying to sell the items and convince you to buy. The person who is the creditor is going to be the one keeping track of everybody. So pretty much the creditor and the store owner will be given a list of everybody's name in the class, and then they're just simply keeping track. I will keep track of classes as they try to work to outperform the other classes using this sheet.